Ladies and gentlemen, the world is full of noise, telling women who they should be, how they should act, what they should settle for, and when to stay quiet. But let me tell you something powerful. A high value woman doesn't wait for permission to become unforgettable. She walks into a room and commands respect, not because she demands it, but because she exudes it. She isn't defined by her relationship status, her bank balance, or her social following. She is defined by her character, her choices, and how she shows up for herself when nobody's applauding. In a time when validation is bought with likes, a high value woman builds her worth from the inside out. She sets boundaries like a queen, speaks with intention, and carries her pain like it was transformed into purpose. She doesn't compete. She collaborates. She doesn't beg, she builds. And above all, she knows that being valuable isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, being self aware, and being committed to becoming the most powerful version of herself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely, even when it's hard. This is the era of the woman who remembers who the hell she is. And today we step into that power together. A high value woman isn't built overnight. She is forged through silence, struggle, strength, and standards. She doesn't walk through life needing validation at every step because she's done the work of validating herself. She has cried behind closed doors and still showed up the next day with purpose. She's been underestimated, overlooked, and doubted, but none of it broke her. It built her. She has stopped tying her worth to how much others approve of her and started anchoring it in who she chooses to be when no one is clapping. She doesn't need a stage to perform or a spotlight to shine. Her power is quiet, grounded, and unshakable. There's something magnetic about a woman who no longer asks for permission to take up space. She's not loud for attention, she's present with intention. She carries herself with a knowing that says, I've been through fire, and I didn't just survive, I became it. She doesn't react to chaos because she's not trying to prove anything anymore. She knows her peace is a form of power, and she protects it. She doesn't chase, she aligns. She doesn't beg, she elevates. She's already whole. So anything she allows into her life must add, not subtract. Not subtract. She's not afraid to be alone because she enjoys her own company. Her solitude is not loneliness, it's luxury. A high value woman doesn't move based on desperation. She doesn't rush decisions out of fear of being left behind. She knows timing is everything, and she trusts herself to choose with clarity. She's learned to sit with her emotions, process her pain, and grow through it. She doesn't numb herself with distractions. She confronts. She heals. She evolves. She evolves. And in doing so, she becomes emotionally intelligent, able to navigate life, love, and challenges without losing her center. She is soft without being weak. She is strong without being hard. She walks with a duality that is rare and revered. She is both a safe place and a force to be reckoned with. This kind of woman isn't defined by her past, her trauma, or her scars. She doesn't carry shame like it belongs to her. She's let go of needing to be perfect and replaced it with the desire to be powerful in truth. She owns her story, even the messy chapters, because she knows that every version of her led to the one she is now. She's not embarrassed by her mistakes. She's educated by them. She knows that falling didn't make her weak, staying down would have. So she gets up again and again, every single time, more graceful, more grounded, and more aligned with her values. She's not here to impress anyone. She's here to express who she truly is. Her life is not a show, it's a legacy in motion. She chooses authenticity over acceptance. She says no without guilt and yes without fear. She isn't afraid to disappoint others if it means honoring herself. She's learned the art of boundaries, not as walls to keep people out, but as filters to let the right people in. Her love is deep, but it's not given lightly. She doesn't fall easily because she values her heart too much to hand it to someone who isn't prepared to hold it. This woman knows her power isn't in her looks, her status, or how much she gives of herself. Her power is in her presence. You feel her before she speaks. And when she does speak, she does it with clarity, with conviction, and with care. Her words don't cut, they elevate. Her silence isn't passive, it's intentional. She's mastered the art of choosing her energy wisely. She doesn't show up everywhere because not everything deserves access to her essence. Her time, her attention, her energy, they are sacred. She no longer entertains anything that disrupts her peace or dim her light. Being a high value woman isn't about superiority, it's about sovereignty. She governs herself. She lives in alignment with her values, even when it's hard. She's disciplined. She's discerning. And she's dedicated to becoming better. Not for applause, but for her own growth. She invests in herself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. She feeds her mind with wisdom, surrounds herself with energy that inspires, and walks away from anything that feels like shrinking. She doesn't live in reaction to what happens outside of her. She moves in accordance with what's happening within her. The high value woman is a reflection of deep inner work. She's not perfect, but she's intentional. She knows that her life is a mirror of what she tolerates, so she no longer entertains mediocrity. She doesn't over explain, overextend, or overstay. She knows when to walk away. She knows when to hold space. She knows when to let go. And she doesn't do it with bitterness. She does it with grace. Because she's not here to be chosen by someone else. She's here to choose herself every single day. That's her standard. That's her frequency. That's her power. Confidence that comes from true self respect carries an energy that cannot be faked. It doesn't scream, it doesn't need to convince. It simply is. And that kind of confidence is magnetic. Not because it's loud, but because it's rooted in something unshakable. When a woman steps into the room knowing who she is, what she stands for, and what she refuses to tolerate, you feel it before she says a single word. That is the kind of confidence that doesn't crumble under rejection, criticism, or comparison. That is the kind of woman who can walk away from anything that doesn't honor her and still hold her head high because she never put her worth in someone else's hands. The world will try to sell women a version of confidence that is all about the outer shell, how perfect she looks, how much attention she gets, how closely she fits into someone else's idea of desirable. But true power doesn't lie in playing someone else's game. True power begins when a woman stops performing and starts standing. She no longer chases applause because she knows who she is even in silence. She doesn't need a room full of likes to validate her brilliance. Her self worth is not a performance, it's a personal truth. A woman who has anchored her confidence in self respect will not shrink herself to fit into places that were never designed to hold her. She no longer tries to be less so someone else can feel more. She isn't obsessed with being liked. She's obsessed with being in alignment. Her yes is intentional. Her no is powerful, and both come from a place of deep self trust. She has looked herself in the mirror on the hardest days and promised to never betray herself again. That promise becomes the foundation of a confidence that cannot be bought, borrowed, or broken. When a woman respects herself, she naturally sets the tone for how others should treat her. She doesn't wait for someone to tell her she's enough. She knows it. Not because she's been told, but because she's done the work to believe it. She doesn't dress for approval. She doesn't speak to impress. She doesn't love in desperation. Everything she does flows from the knowing that she is already worthy. She's not a question mark waiting to be completed. She's an exclamation point, standing firm in her own identity. This kind of confidence doesn't avoid vulnerability, it embraces it. A woman rooted in self respect is not afraid to show her scars because she understands they are proof of her healing. She's not trying to appear flawless because she knows her growth is more powerful than her perfection. She doesn't fear failure because her confidence is built on resilience. Every time she got knocked down and chose to rise again, she was building that inner fire. It's not ego, it's earned. She doesn't seek to dominate, she seeks to inspire. She's not threatened by other women, she celebrates them because she knows her light doesn't dim when someone else shines. She competes only with the woman she was yesterday. She is not a mirror of society's expectations, she is a mirror of her own evolution. And when she walks through life with this level of grounded assurance, people don't just see her, they feel her. Her confidence is not about being above anyone else. It's about never placing herself below. Validation will always be fleeting. One day you'll be praised, the next you'll be judged. If your confidence depends on how others see you, you will forever be at the mercy of their opinions. But when you root that confidence in self respect, you take your power back. You stop performing and start being. You stop pleasing and start choosing. You stop waiting and start creating. And that shift, that's the transformation that turns an ordinary woman into an unforgettable force. There is a difference between confidence that's worn like a mask and confidence that radiates from the soul. One is exhausting, the other is empowering. The first breaks you when no one's watching. The second builds you when no one's cheering. So many women have been taught to perform confidence, to speak a certain way, smile a certain way, behave a certain way, all for approval. But there comes a moment when a woman outgrows that script and writes her own. When she chooses to be confident because she respects herself, not because she wants to be accepted, that's the moment she becomes unstoppable. Confidence rooted in self respect allows a woman to walk away without looking back, to say no without explaining herself, to choose her peace over performance. She doesn't chase love, she becomes love. She doesn't beg for recognition, she embodies value. She doesn't compare, she commands. And not from a place of arrogance, but from a deep place of integrity. Because a high value woman who respects herself never begs to be seen. She knows she was born to shine, and she's not afraid to take up space doing just that. Your standards shape your reality, and settling is the fastest way to lose yourself. Your standards are the invisible line between who you are and who you're becoming. They're not just rules, they are reflections of your self worth. The way you allow people to treat you, the opportunities you say yes or no to, the energy you keep around you, all of that flows from the standards you silently uphold. And every time you lower those standards out of fear, loneliness, pressure, or desperation, you chip away at the very foundation of your identity. You don't just lose clarity, you start to lose yourself. Because the moment you start accepting less than what aligns with your value, you start normalizing the idea that you're not worth more. High standards don't make you difficult, they make you discerning. They don't isolate you, they protect you. When you decide to live as a high value woman, your life no longer runs on survival mode. It runs on intentionality. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing validation and start attracting alignment. You stop explaining why you want more and start embodying the truth that you are more. There is no shame in having standards. The world might call you too much, but that's only because they've been too conditioned to accept too little. You weren't born to dim your fire just to fit in. You were born to shine so unapologetically that those who can't meet you rise or remove themselves. When a woman begins to settle, it never happens all at once. It happens in small ways. She stays silent when she should speak. She makes excuses for behavior that violates her peace. She convinces herself that crumbs are a meal and that potential is enough to stay. She starts betraying her inner voice for the sake of keeping the peace outside. She says yes when everything in her body says no, and slowly her reflection starts to blur. Her voice becomes smaller. Her power starts to fade, not because it's gone, but because she's no longer standing in it. Settling is a slow erosion of identity. Your standards are your compass. They guide you when the world gets noisy. They keep you grounded when your heart is confused. They are the self love you live, not just speak. And the truth is, when you raise your standards, the world will test them. You will be challenged. You will be tempted to go back to what's familiar. You will question yourself. But a high value woman understands that what she walks away from says just as much about her as what she walks toward. She doesn't lower the bar because someone can't reach it. She lets them rise or stay behind. The woman who owns her standards doesn't compromise her soul for company. She doesn't hold on to relationships that require her to shrink. She doesn't entertain people who only show up halfway. She doesn't chase love, friendship, or opportunity that costs her peace. She doesn't need. She understands that alignment is more important than attachment. That being alone and whole is better than being with someone and feeling half. And when she chooses herself in this way, her energy becomes a filter. Those who cannot meet her frequency will fall away, not because she's too much, but because they're not enough for where she's going. Settling never leads to satisfaction. It leads to self doubt. Because deep down, you know when something isn't right. You feel the discomfort. You hear the inner whisper telling you this isn't it. But when you silence that voice over and over, you start forgetting how to hear it at all. And that's how women lose themselves. Not through one giant mistake, but through 1,000 small silences. Every time you accept less, you teach yourself that you are less. But when you raise the bar, you teach the world how to treat you. And it's not just about relationships, it's about how you show up for your health, your dreams, your money, your purpose. Are you accepting chaos where you deserve peace? Are you making excuses for why you're not showing up fully in your life? Are you procrastinating on the very thing that sets your soul on fire because it's hard, because it's scary, because it requires more from you? That's settling too. Settling happens in the way you treat your body, the way you delay your goals, the way you tolerate mediocrity in places you were born to thrive. The high value woman understands that her standards are not meant to make life harder, they are meant to make her path clearer. When she stands in that energy, she becomes the architect of her reality. She doesn't just hope for better, she requires it. She becomes unavailable to anything that doesn't reflect the value she knows she holds. And yes, that may mean longer seasons of solitude. Yes, that may mean saying goodbye to people who once felt safe. But what she gains in return is a life of integrity, a life that mirrors her worth, a life that isn't based on how low she can bend, but how high she can rise. She doesn't keep people in her life who only show up when it's convenient. She doesn't make room for love that feels like confusion. She doesn't put her dreams on pause so someone else can feel more secure. Her standards aren't a wall, they're a door. A door only those who respect her value are willing to walk through. And she doesn't apologize for that. Because she knows the cost of settling isn't just disappointment, it's disconnection from herself. Choosing to raise your standards is choosing to honor your growth. It's saying, I've come too far to go back to what broke me. It's trusting that the right people, the right opportunities, the right love will never ask you to shrink. They'll recognize your power, not punish it. They'll respect your boundaries, not test them. They'll meet you where you are, not make you question if you're too much. That's not pride. It's protection. That's not arrogance. It's alignment. That's not ego. It's evolution. Real power comes from emotional independence, not needing anyone to complete you, fix you, or validate your worth. Emotional independence is the foundation of true personal power. It's not about being cold, distant, or disconnected. It's about being whole. It's the moment you stop looking outside of yourself for permission to feel good, to feel worthy, to feel loved. It's when you stop handing out the remote control of your emotions to other people and start owning your own peace, your own joy, your own decisions. Because real power begins when you realize no one else is responsible for saving you. No one is responsible for making you feel complete. Feel complete. You were never broken to begin with. You are not a half waiting for another half. You are a whole. And anyone who enters your life is a bonus, not a necessity. The moment you let go of the belief that your worth lies in someone else's hands, everything changes. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop performing for love. You stop begging for attention. You stop measuring your value based on whether someone chooses you or not. You stop chasing situations that leave you depleted. Emotional independence means your sense of self isn't shaken when someone rejects you, leaves you unread, or doesn't show up. You don't fall apart. You stand taller because your identity was never rooted in their approval to begin with. Too many women are raised to believe that being loved by someone else is the ultimate validation of their existence. That having a partner, being chosen, being adored, somehow proves that they are enough. But if your worth can be given to you, it can also be taken away. And that is not love. That is dependency dressed up as connection. Emotional independence breaks that cycle. It frees you from seeking what you can already give yourself. Peace, love, validation, and support. It doesn't mean you don't want love. It means you don't crumble without it. It means that when love arrives, you don't grip it with fear. You meet it with clarity, with boundaries, with strength. A high value woman doesn't fear being alone because she's not lonely when she's by herself. She's connected. She's not waiting for someone to come fix her life. She's building it herself. She's not sitting in stillness hoping to be rescued. She's showing up every day as her own hero. She's not emotionally dependent on anyone because she has learned how to self regulate, how to self soothe, how to self empower. And because she's emotionally whole, she doesn't attract chaos. She attracts clarity. She doesn't chase hot and cold love. She doesn't fall for potential. She partners with presence. When you are emotionally independent, relationships become a choice, not a need. You don't enter them to feel worthy. You enter them because you already know you are. You don't tolerate disrespect because you've learned how to respect yourself. You don't lose yourself trying to keep someone. You know how to let go when the energy no longer aligns. You don't seek someone to complete you. You seek someone to grow with. Someone who adds to the life you've already built, not someone you rely on to build it for you. This emotional dependence allows you to love deeper, not less, because you're not loving from fear. You're loving from overflow, flow. You're not trying to extract love to fill a void. You're offering love from a full cup. You're not giving to get. You're giving because you're abundant. That kind of love is rare. That kind of woman is unforgettable. She's not ruled by anxiety, jealousy, or insecurity. She's moved by purpose, passion, and peace. She's emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, and emotionally free. And yes, building this kind of independence takes work. It requires unlearning the lies that told you your value depends on others. It means healing the wounds that made you think love must be earned through self sacrifice. It takes courage to face the patterns of codependency, to stop outsourcing your worth, and to finally look in the mirror and say, I'm enough, just as I am. But once you do, your entire frequency shifts. You no longer settle. You no longer shrink. You no longer shapeshift to be chosen. You already chose yourself, and that choice echoes through every part of your life. Emotional independence is your freedom ticket. It liberates you from the emotional roller coaster of needing to be validated 24/7. It allows you to stand alone in your truth and walk away from anything that dishonors your soul. It empowers you to stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself access to the life you deserve. It means you don't wait for someone to say you're worthy of love, success, happiness, or rest. You claim it. You create it. You protect it. This kind of woman doesn't play games. She doesn't manipulate or beg. She speaks clearly. She loves deeply, and she knows when to walk. She doesn't ask anyone to give her peace. She's already built it within herself. And because of that, she's dangerous to anyone who profits off her insecurity. She's powerful, not because she's perfect, but because she no longer allows anyone else to control how she feels about herself. So when you see her standing tall, smiling without needing to be seen, glowing without anyone else's light, understand, she didn't get there overnight. She built that power in the silence. She found herself in the solitude. And now she doesn't just survive, she thrives. Not because someone came to save her, but because she finally realized she could save herself. That is the mark of a high value woman. That is the mark of emotional independence. Boundaries are not barriers, they are standards, and they protect your peace, your energy, your self respect. There is something revolutionary about a woman who decides that her peace matters, that her energy isn't a free for all, that her presence is earned, not demanded. That's what boundaries do. They are the invisible lines that say, I know who I am, and I know what I'm no longer available for. And yet, so many women are taught to feel guilty for drawing them. They're taught that being accommodating makes them lovable, that being soft makes them acceptable, that silence is polite, that shrinking is feminine. But the truth is, there is nothing more powerful than a woman who chooses herself. And the first way she does that is by honoring her own boundaries. Boundaries don't push people away, they reveal who respects you enough to stay. They aren't about control, they're about clarity. You're not trying to change other people. You're letting them know the terms by which you can coexist peacefully. It's not selfish, it's sacred. It means you value your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth. It means you've finally stopped portraying yourself just to keep others comfortable. It means you've learned that being liked is not more important than being respected. It means you're done abandoning yourself to be accepted by people who wouldn't even choose you at your fullest. A high value woman knows that her boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with locks. She chooses who enters. She decides who gets access to her mind, her heart, her soul. She's not afraid to say no. She's not afraid to walk away. She's not afraid to call out the energy that doesn't align. And more importantly, she's not afraid of being misunderstood. Because she's not living to please others, she's living in alignment with herself. And that shift in energy changes everything. The moment you start saying no to what drains you, you make space for what empowers you. The moment you stop over explaining yourself, you reclaim your mental freedom. Ha! The moment you stop making excuses for other people's lack of effort, you elevate your standard. The moment you stop engaging in emotional labor for people who won't meet you halfway, you create room for real, mutual grown love. Boundaries are the declaration that says, I am enough as I am. I don't need to be everything for everyone. I don't need to be agreeable to be valuable. And yes, when you start to raise your standards, you'll lose people. But here's the truth, those are not losses, those are revelations. Because the right people won't punish you for protecting your peace, they'll honor it. They won't guilt trip you when you advocate for yourself. They'll support it. You don't need to overfunction in relationships to prove your worth. You don't need to tolerate disrespect because you're scared of being alone. You don't need to carry everyone else's burdens while neglecting your own healing. That is not strength, that is sacrifice. And that sacrifice is no longer your identity. A woman with boundaries commands a different kind of respect. She doesn't entertain emotional chaos. She doesn't allow inconsistent behavior. She doesn't tolerate lukewarm love. She doesn't stay where she has to beg for basic things like communication, consistency, or compassion. She doesn't let history keep her in a place that no longer feels like home. She doesn't let potential blind her from the reality of how she's being treated. Because she knows that boundaries are not threats, they're filters. And once she installs them, everything that isn't aligned naturally fades. Having boundaries doesn't mean you're hard. It means you've had enough of being hurt. It doesn't mean you're cold. It means you finally decided to be warm to yourself first. It doesn't mean you're difficult. It means you're no longer available for dysfunction. It doesn't mean you don't love deeply. It means you've decided to love yourself deeply too. It's the shift from proving your worth to protecting your worth. It's the shift from people pleasing to self honoring. It's the moment you say, my healing is more important than your comfort. This is not about being rigid. It's about being rooted. Rooted in your self worth, rooted in your values, rooted in your voice, rooted in your standards. Because when you're rooted, you're not swayed by every opinion, every emotion, or every crisis around you. You become the eye of your own storm, calm, grounded, powerful. And yes, that intimidates the people who were used to you overextending. It challenges those who benefited from your lack of boundaries, but let them go. Let them watch, let them adjust, or let them leave. Either way, you're good. Because you are finally choosing yourself, and that is non negotiable. A high value woman doesn't chase validation. She doesn't beg for connection. She doesn't perform to be loved. She doesn't bend just to avoid conflict. She holds her ground. She speaks her truth. She exits with grace when necessary. She doesn't lose herself in the name of loyalty. She doesn't overstay where she's not seen. And she doesn't apologize for the boundaries that keep her healthy, radiant, and whole. She knows that anyone who truly values her won't be offended by her standards. They'll rise to meet them. That's the difference. So draw your lines, set your standards, enforce your peace, and don't you dare feel guilty for doing so. Because when you finally decide that you are enough, that you deserve better, and that your energy is sacred, your whole world changes. And you don't just become powerful, you become untouchable, unshakable, unapologetically high value.